We live in turbulent times. Often the future is unknown. Therefore, it behooves us to prepare for uncertainties. When the time for decision arrives, the time for preparation is past. President Thomas S. Monson, 2014. As we prepare for disasters in the Idaho area, I want to take a few minutes and talk about those disasters that we might have. Winters in Idaho presents its own unique kinds of problems. Snow, ice, freezing temperatures. So we need to be prepared for those kinds of conditions. In 2016 and 17, we had a major winter storm that caused flooding and other kinds of issues. Idaho is rated number 6 in the nation in earthquakes, so we need to take some time to understand how to best prepare for earthquakes. If you look at the picture on the right, you'll notice that Idaho is at moderate to extreme risk of having earthquakes. The one on the left shows where the severe earthquakes have occurred in Idaho over the last several years. We have 3 dams that control the Boise River, providing irrigation to the valley. During heavy snows in the winter and during runoff in the spring, we can experience flooding. We could also experience a failure in one of the dams during an earthquake. We could have less than 45 minutes to move to higher ground. In 2016, FEMA conducted an exercise on the west coast of the United States around the Cascadia subduction zone, which runs off the coast of North America and spans northern California to southern British Columbia, and produced earthquakes as large as magnitude 9 and corresponding tsunamis. Scientific evidence indicates that a magnitude 8 to 9 earthquake occurs every 200 to 500 years. The last major earthquake and the tsunami along the fault line occurred over 300 years ago in 1700. This would also result in a magnitude 7 earthquake in the Boise area, plus about 1 million refugees fleeing from the western earthquake zone. This map shows wildfires, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, and floods from 1984 to 2013. You'll notice all of the red, which is wildfires, that occur in the state of Idaho. And of course, we have COVID-19 in 2020. What do you think this map represents? Yep, Bigfoot sightings. A friend of mine said I'm getting too serious about this, so he threw this slide in for me. Now that we've looked at some of the disasters that can happen in Idaho, I want to take a look now at what families can do to prepare. Several years ago, I put together this website to assist families in emergency preparedness. Volusia County in Florida allowed me to put up some videos on disaster planning and disaster supply kits to assist families in emergency preparedness. On the right side are some family emergency planning aids and some aids in preparing a disaster supply kit. At the bottom of the page are some family preparedness manuals, how to develop food storage, sanitation, and some ideas on foam clothing. I will put the address of the website at the bottom of the information page on YouTube. I will now show you a 5-minute video on how to develop a family plan.
Some major disasters, like hurricanes and tropical storms, come with a warning. But some disasters, like tornadoes, flooding, or even man-made events, can pop up with no warning at all. Coming up are the steps you should take to secure yourself, your loved ones, and your home. Not only should you do these things before a disaster is threatening, but most of these steps are things you can begin working on today. This is your plan for survival. Everyone plays a role when it comes to being prepared, so have a family meeting to talk about disasters and to develop your family's survival plan. Children should be encouraged to talk about their fears, and parents should explain what they plan to do to keep the family safe. As a family, develop a list of things to do in case of an emergency. Review and update your plan at least once a year, or as your lives change. Things like new pets, moving to a new home, and the birth of a child are all reasons to update your plan. Share your disaster plan with other family members and neighbors so that those close to you can find you in the event of an emergency. Make a list of the valuables in your home. Take pictures and video of them so you have a good reference in case you need to claim loss or damages to your insurance provider. You should review your insurance policies well in advance of a storm and be aware that most insurance companies won't make any changes or updates to your policy if there's already a storm on the way. So take care of your coverage as soon as possible. Don't disregard flood insurance for your home, even if you're not in a mapped flood zone. Rising water and flash floods caused by heavy rains are always a danger. Place important documents such as insurance policies, birth certificates, and financial papers in a waterproof container or a watertight plastic bag and take them with you if you have to evacuate. Take a walk around your home and evaluate the roof, windows, garage doors, patio doors, screen-enclosed rooms, and landscaping to see what protective measures you need to take if a storm is approaching. If you don't have metal hurricane shutters, plan to board up your windows and glass doors with plywood that's at least 5/8 of an inch thick for the most security. If you're worried about power outages, you might be interested in purchasing a gas-operated generator, but learn how to use it before a storm so you're not putting your family in more danger. Trimming trees so there are no low-lying or heavy branches will prevent fire hazards and potential wind damage. But check with your city codes first and do not attempt to trim trees during a storm. Make sure any yard waste from landscaping and outdoor furniture and children's toys are picked up and put away. These things can become a hazard in high winds. Add extra chlorine to your pool to prevent contamination from heavy rains. And if you want to lower the water level, do not lower more than 2 feet to prevent damage to your pool walls. Double-check the tie-down straps and anchors if you live in a mobile or manufactured home, and plan ahead and identify where you would store or park your vehicle, boat, or RV so it's not in danger. If you have a disability or special medical need, your emergency plans must fit your unique circumstances. Talk to your physician or healthcare provider about a realistic plan for your safety. Carefully evaluate your shelter options. Not all shelters will be able to assist in a special needs situation, so you may need to make advanced plans. If you undergo routine treatments such as dialysis, or if you're a home health care client, or if you require oxygen supplies, call your service provider to discuss plans for continuing your services during an emergency. Things like doctors' names and phone numbers, insurance information, and lists of your medications should be written on a card you can keep with you in case you have to evacuate. Label your medical support equipment like wheelchairs, walkers, and nebulizers with your name so there's no chance of a mix-up in a shelter situation. Gather your emergency supplies early. Keep ample supplies of medications on hand, especially during hurricane season. If you have a service animal, make sure the animal has a collar with identification. Have proof that the animal's vaccinations are up to date and a copy of written instructions for your animal's care. Service animals are the only animals allowed in non-pet friendly shelters. Finally, if you or a loved one has special needs, register with Volusia County Emergency Management so they know you're going to need extra assistance in a disaster situation.
The website also has some emergency plans that can be folded and placed in a wallet for children and for adults. You may want to make a couple of evacuation checklists. One, that you only have 5 minutes to evacuate, post it where it can easily be seen, and make the supplies available that you can grab in a minute's notice. You may want to have a second evacuation checklist where you have a longer time to prepare. The last video is on how to develop a disaster kit.
Every family in Volusia County should be prepared to be self-sufficient for 5 to 7 days after a major disaster. This is so recovery efforts can focus on those who can't help themselves and those who are not as well prepared as you're going to be. A disaster supply kit is essential during our rough weather seasons, so here are some things you should have gathered in your home to ensure your safety and sometimes even your survival. Make sure you have at least a week's supply of non-perishable food, 2 weeks' worth of water, and a stocked supply of medical items for your family. You should have at least 1 gallon of drinking water per person per day and half a gallon per pet per day. Store your water reserve using clean, airtight containers such as store-bought thermoses or 2-liter soda bottles. If you use reusable plastic bottles, change them each month to prevent bacteria growth, and never use milk containers to store water. When it comes to food supplies, you'll want to have enough for 3 meals per day per person for 5 to 7 days. Food should be non-perishable, packaged or canned, and should include canned or shelf milk, cereal, and snack foods. Don't forget to pack special dietary and sanitary items like baby foods, formula, diapers and wipes, toiletries, and extra toilet paper. Refill all your prescriptions before a storm so you won't run out in the event of an emergency. At least a 2-week supply is best. Don't worry if you're between refills. The law requires pharmacies to refill your prescriptions if a storm is threatening. Make sure if you're forced to evacuate, you take your disaster kit with you. Shelters will not have any of the comforts of home, so do not leave home empty-handed. Pack your kit in your vehicle before you're forced to evacuate. Here's a list of the things we talked about and some other important items you should have in your disaster supply kit. Many of us with pets consider them to be members of our families, so treat them just like you would any other loved one and make sure you have a plan that addresses your pet's needs. Whether you evacuate or stay in your home, your pet's disaster kit should include food, water, and enough to last for 7 days. Have your pet's leash and toys handy, as well as a pet carrier in case you need to travel with them. If your pet needs medications, make sure you have a well-stocked supply. Newspapers and plastic bags will come in handy for cleaning up waste. Do not leave home without your animal's license and vaccination documentation, and put copies in a safe place along with your family's important paperwork. Just in case you need to evacuate with your pets, plan ahead and see where your nearest pet-friendly shelter is located, or a pet-friendly hotel. The Volusia County Fairgrounds are used as a people and pet-friendly shelter during major storms, but make sure you bring your pet's disaster supply kit as well as your own. People with large outdoor animals like horses, cows, and pigs should also have a plan for keeping their livestock safe and sheltered. For a list of kennels and hotels that can shelter your pet, you can contact Volusia County Animal Services.
The website also has information on how to develop a disaster kit. Thanks for joining me on the Rough and Ready Rancher. Have a good day.
Oh, she walks through the corn, leading down to the river. Her hair shone like gold in the hot morning sun. she took all the love that a poor boy could give her and left me to die like a fox on the run.